Chapter 31 Tiandou City, 3 Updates. You are listening at Audio. Tiandou City is the capital of the Tiandou Empire. As one of the largest and most majestic cities in the Douluo Continent, the city walls alone are hundreds of meters high, and they are all repaired from the hardest granite. Above and below the city, soldiers patrolling and standing guard, each wearing full armor and holding spears, patrolled back and forth. Facing such a scene, Wu Xing, as a person who has traveled through time in modern times, can imagine his inner shock. Although many people on the internet discuss how Douluo Continent is a sewer in the fantasy world, I used to be able to punch Contra and step on tidal Douluo with my physical body. Putting these aside for the time being, the visual impact brought by the building in front of you is real, as if feeling the shock in Wu Xing's heart. Dugu, who had just calmed down for a while, jumped out again, winking and smiling. Are you stupid? Wu Xing looked at Dugu, who wanted to regain his position whenever he had the chance, and was speechless. This little girl really doesn't have a long memory. Without answering, Wu Xing took Su Ruashi's hand and walked inside. Seeing Wu Xing, who ignored her, Dugu was like a deflated rubber ball. It seemed that every time she punched the opponent since the confrontation, she would hit the cotton. The feeling of powerlessness drove her crazy. The roads in Tiandou City are very wide, with a distance of 15 meters. Along the main road, Wu Xing looked around with interest. The city is extremely prosperous, with a dazzling array of vendors and stalls on the streets, and some large shops at both ends. It is not much different from the modern Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou and Shenzhen. Knowing that her man came from another world, Su Ruashi would introduce various architectural landmarks to Wu Xing wherever she went. Just like this, I don't know how long it took and how many streets I walked around. The flow of people gradually began to increase. After a closer look, it was obvious that this was the main business district of Tiandou City. Wu Xing, let's go in and take a look. Su Ruashi came to a shop and stopped. After hearing this, Wu Xing looked around and was slightly startled. This was a clothing store. Judging from the situation, it was selling men's clothing. Okay. Wu Xing nodded without thinking too much. His woman was indeed thoughtful. When he traveled back in time, he appeared in the Sunset Forest, wearing a set of modern clothes. After arriving at Tiandou Royal Academy, I received a few sets of uniforms from the academy, but I can't always wear school uniforms wherever I go in the future, right? When he entered the clothing store, the salesperson greeted him warmly, and his respectful attitude made Wu Xing look at him. But then I thought about it. I was wearing the uniform of Tiandou Royal Academy now. As a businessman in Tiandou City, how could I not know that the people who could enter there were the children of nobles, so they naturally wanted to please. In addition, the 3 girls beside him are all top-notch beauties, and they are rare in the entire Tiandou City. They are not ordinary nobles in this kind of pomp. After coming in, Su Ruashi put all her heart and soul into her man, carefully choosing for him, and occasionally asking Dugu and Yilingling for reference. This made Wu Xing experience the feeling of being surrounded by all the beauties. Wu Xing is very handsome, and his height is the most standard of 1.8 meters. He is like a clothes rack. He can easily control any kind of clothing and show off his charming temperament. It makes Dugu and Yilingling's eyes widened. He is handsome, has temperament, and most importantly, is strong. His attraction to girls at this stage is undoubtedly fatal. Dugu and Yilingling were both like this, not to mention Su Ruashi. Her eyes were full of spring. If she hadn't considered the public occasion, she would have been unable to resist her inner impulse and pounced on her for a kiss. After coming out of the men's clothing store, several people walked towards the street ahead, and soon entered a store again, but this time, it was a women's store. Wu Xing started to look for matching items for his woman. He didn't know whether it was intentional or not. After Su Ruashi bought a few sets of clothes, Dugu and Yilingling both made him an audience. Wu Xing, if you are interested in Sister Yan and Lingling, I won't object. Just as Dugu and Yilingling entered the fitting room, Su Ruashi suddenly leaned into Wu Xing's ear and whispered in his ear. Wu Xing was shocked when he heard this, and then looked at Su Ruashi in disbelief. He never thought that his woman, who had just established a relationship with him for 2 days, was asked to find a woman. Is there such a good thing in this world? Seeing Wu Xing's incredible look, Su Ruoxi blushed slightly and lowered her head, explaining, I think Sister Yan Yan and Sister Lingling are both very nice to you. That's because I am the owner of the diary. They know that I have a huge opportunity, so they will naturally make friends with me. After listening to Su Ruoxi's explanation, Wu Xing laughed hoarsely. In fact, the reason why Su Ruoxi said this was not simply because of this, but because she knew in 2 days that her man was a soaring dragon. There will be no shortage of beauties throwing themselves into her arms in the future, and there will not be only him in the future. She is such a woman, even if Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling didn't appear, she wouldn't be able to hold on. Instead of doing this, it would be better for the 2 women to become sisters, at least they would know the truth. In addition, in Douluo Continent, there are many nobles and there is no concept of monogamy, so she said this. In addition, she also found that her man's physical quality was far greater than hers. As the soul power level increased, it would become more and more obvious. Now it is a bit too much. What should we do in the future? I know, but I think Sister Yan Yan and Sister Lingling are pretty good, so it doesn't matter if I accept them. Su Ruoxi replied carefully. When Wu Xing heard this, he was almost moved to tears, and then said, Ruoxi, I understand your thoughts. Although I admit that I am flirtatious, there are so many women in the diary. Is it possible that I will keep them all when we meet in the future? I don't mind. Su Ruoxi kept saying nothing. Wu Xing opened his mouth, but no words came out for a long time. This girl probably didn't know what she was talking about. If we really want to collect them all, can he be busy enough? 1 per day, and the rotation is probably calculated on a yearly basis, so you won't be saving your life. Okay, don't make random comments, let nature take its course. If I am really attracted to a beautiful woman, I will tell you. Wu Xing waved his hand. With such a considerate woman, he was unwilling to hurt her, but it is impossible to collect them all, and this idea is even impossible to think about. If the holder of a copy of the diary is just a beauty from the Douluo world, that's it. You can try your best to masturbate, but Zudi and Zongman, forget it. While the 2 were communicating, the door of the fitting room opened, and Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling walked out. At this time, they had already changed back into their original outfits. Seeing Su Ruoxi's strange look, Dugu Yan couldn't help but ask, Sister Ruoxi, what's wrong with you? Your face is so red. No. It's nothing. Su Ruoxi shook her head hurriedly. She did not dare to reveal the conversation she had just had with Wu Xing. Oh. Dugu Yan didn't think much about it, and then asked the salesperson to pack the clothes he bought and put them into the soul guide. Perhaps because of this little episode, Su Ruoxi became even more intimate with the 2 women, which made Wu Xing on the side feel helpless, sad, and happy at the same time. This girl is determined to find a sister for herself. Chapter 32 Dugu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The group of people wandered until the sun went down without realizing it, and Wu Xing sighed a little. Whether it was a woman from the previous life or a woman from Douluo Continent, they all seemed to have a soft spot for this matter. However, he didn't feel bored. Instead, he looked like he still had something to say. Just because he was so addicted to it, he had to admire the greatness of Chinese comics. Whether it was ancient times or fantasy worlds, it pioneered the use of stockings with high heels. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to experience the 3 women surrounding him, wearing stockings of various colors and styles, shaking their alluring long legs, making his eyes dazzled by them all, except for the top. After walking out of the business district and looking at the darkening sky, Dugu Yan invited, Wu Xing, Sister Ruoxi, why don't you guys stay at my house tonight instead of staying in the hotel? Upon hearing Dugu Yan's invitation, before Wu Xing could speak, Su Ruoxi took the lead and said, okay, then I won't bother Sister Yan Yan. The friendship between women is so magical. After just 1 day of shopping, the relationship between the 2 parties has risen to the level of best friends. Although Su Ruoxi did this intentionally, it was done very quickly. Seeing that his girlfriend agreed, Wu Xing naturally had no problem. Anyway, Dugu Yan's grandfather was a guest of the Tiandou Empire's royal family, and he had a mansion rewarded by Emperor Shuya. Where could he live? Seeing the 2 people agree, Dugu Yen felt happy, as this represented a further step in the friendship between the two parties. Led by Dugu Yen, several people soon arrived in front of a huge mansion. Looking at the magnificent building in front of him, Wu Xing sighed in his heart again. It was indeed a noble mansion. It was so grand. Entering the mansion and walking up to two maids, Dugu Yen immediately asked, "Shaolin, where is my grandfather?" "Miss, the master went out at noon and hasn't come back yet." The maid replied respectfully. "Grandpa, it's true, it's already dark and you still haven't come back." Dugu Yen muttered after hearing this. She invited Wu Xing to visit her home. In addition to establishing a good relationship, she also wanted to introduce him to her grandfather, but she didn't expect that his grandfather was not there. I heard someone talking about me as soon as I entered the door. It turns out that my precious granddaughter is back." Just as Dugu Yen finished speaking, a hearty laugh came from behind. "Grandpa." Upon hearing this, Dugu Yen turned around happily. Wu Xing and others also turned around, but when he followed the sound, his eyes narrowed slightly, just because Dugu Bo was holding a person in his hand, and that person was none other than Tang San. Dugu Yen also saw Tang San being carried by his grandfather. He was slightly startled, and then asked, "Grandpa, why did you catch this guy?" Dugu Bo did not answer his granddaughter's words. At this moment, he was looking at Wu Xing with bright eyes, and the sharp light was approaching. Feeling Dugu Bo's intimidating gaze, Wu Xing took a few steps forward, raised his hand slightly and said, "Junior Wu Xing, I have met Senior Dugu." Dugu Bo still said nothing, staring at Wu Xing with sharp eyes, wondering what he was thinking in his mind. At this time, Dugu Yen, who noticed that her grandfather was acting strangely, was immediately startled. She quickly stepped forward to hold Dugu Bo's arm and said, "Grandpa, don't be like this." Dugu Bo, who was shaken by his granddaughter, finally retracted his slightly narrowed eyes, turned back and stroked Dugu Yan's head and asked with a smile, Yen, why don't you introduce me to Grandpa?" Seeing that Grandpa finally stopped releasing that terrifying aura, Dugu Yen immediately pulled Dugu Bo to Wu Xing and happily introduced, "Grandpa, this is Wu Xing, my good friend and especially recruited student of our college. He is so powerful, he defeated me as a level 31 soul master. This is Su Ruoshi, also a student of our college and my good sister." After Dugu Yen sweetly introduced him, he immediately looked at Wu Xing and said with a smile, "Wu Xing, this is my grandpa. You said it just now, so you don't need me to introduce him to you. I've met Senior Dugu." Wu Xing raised his hand again. "Yeah." At this time, Dugu Bo responded, but he didn't give the other party a good look. This was the first time that he saw his precious granddaughter bringing a boy of similar age to his home. For a moment, he felt like the big cabbage he had worked so hard to pull was being fucked by a pig, but even if it wasn't far away. His precious granddaughter, who had always been proud, couldn't fake her happiness from the bottom of her heart when she mentioned the man in front of her. Especially when she praised him even after losing, she felt so happy in her heart. Corrective pain, according to the usual character of a granddaughter, if she loses to someone else in a soul fight, she will never behave like this. She will be dissatisfied and want to regain her position, but now this boy can make his precious granddaughter make such a big change. Would he believe that there is nothing going on between the two? "Grandpa, Wu Xing is a good friend I invited here. If you do this, I will never pay attention to you again." Looking at Grandpa's stern face, Dugu Yen stomped his feet angrily. She had no idea that her grandfather had misunderstood the relationship between the two, and this threat made Dugu Bo feel the urge to spit out blood. My granddaughter, who has worked so hard to raise her, is now threatened by an outsider to make him, a grandfather, angry. It really complies with the old saying that when you have a boyfriend, you forget about him as a grandfather. Grandpa Dugu. When Dugu Bo was heartbroken and beating his chest, Yi Lingling called him sweetly. When Dugu Bo saw it was Yi Lingling, he showed a kind smile that was completely different from when he faced Wu Xing and said, "It's Lingling. You came home with Yen." "Yes, Grandpa Dugu." Yi Lingling responded sweetly before saying, "Grandpa Dugu." Lingling also came with Wu Xing. She probably understood why Senior Dugu didn't give Wu Xing a good look, so she took the initiative to come to the rescue. Huh? Dugu Bo was shocked. Yi Lingling was no stranger to him. He was his precious granddaughter's best friend and often visited her home. Dugu Bo knew her character very well. Unlike his precious granddaughter who was straightforward, she was elegant and quiet, and now she actually took the initiative to stand up. Could it be that this kid in front of him was not simple? Secretly surprised, Dugu Bo decided to find time to ask again alone. It was better not to make his precious granddaughter angry now. Thinking of this, Dugu Bo immediately changed his face and said with a smile, "Yen Yen, Grandpa is wrong, Grandpa is wrong." Humph. Dugu Yen raised his head arrogantly, and then said, "Wu Xing is here as a guest, you can't keep a straight face." Okay, Grandpa will listen to you, whatever you say." Dugu Bo agreed repeatedly. At this time, Dugu Yen nodded with satisfaction, then looked at Wu Xing and apologized. "Wu Xing, my grandpa is just joking, don't worry about it. Senior Dugu has a heroic temperament, so I won't care." Wu Xing replied with a smile. Seeing that Wu Xing was not at ease, Dugu Yen breathed a sigh of relief. She finally invited Wu Xing to be a guest, just to make good friends, but she couldn't let it end up being self-defeating. Chapter 33 shocked Dugu Bo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at his granddaughter's low profile, Dugu Bo's mouth twitched several times. When did his poisoned Douluo's granddaughter need to please others? But in the end, he suppressed his intention to have an attack and called a few people into the living room, but Wu Xing put him on the least popular list. "Xiao Lin, please clean up the 2 guest rooms. My friend will stay here tonight. In addition, let Aunt Cheng prepare a sumptuous dinner." After arriving in the living room, Dugu Yen quickly ordered the maid to go down. "Okay, miss." Xiaolin responded and retreated, and looking at his granddaughter who cared so much for him, Dugu Bo felt anxious again. He couldn't vent his anger towards Wu Xing, fearing that his precious granddaughter would get angry with him, but he was not so polite to Tang San and directly used him as a punching bag. "Throw it casually into the corner next to it." Bang! Poor Tang San took the blame again. His face fell to the ground, and he fell like a dog, and he didn't know whether his nose was broken. Seeing Dugu Bo's behavior, Wu Xing felt that the old guy seemed to be doing it deliberately to show him, and he didn't seem to offend the old guy, right? From the moment he stepped into this mansion, he was targeted everywhere. Could it be something about the fairy grass? This is quite possible. He dug up all his fairyland. It was considered that Dugu Yen had done enough ideological work before he got angry directly. Of course, Wu Xing didn't know that Dugu Yen didn't say that he dug the fairy grass at all, and Dugu Bo didn't know that Wu Xing was the culprit who destroyed his fairy garden. If he knew that his precious granddaughter wouldn't be able to keep it even if he tried to persuade him, he said of, "Grandpa, why did you catch this guy?" Looking at Tang San who was unceremoniously thrown into a corner by his grandpa and unconscious, Dugu Yen didn't care at all and just asked very curiously. Obviously, Dugu Yen's personality is similar to that of her grandfather. She is both good and evil, straightforward, has a girl's sunny mentality, but also has a dark side. Only Wu Xing can control her temper. Wu Xing was also very interested in Dugu Yan's inquiry. He snatched all the opportunities from Tang San. How come this guy was still caught by Dugu Bo like in the original work? Dugu Bo glanced at Tang San in the corner and said with a chuckle, "Yen Yen, Grandpa didn't want to arrest him to ask how he broke the poison of your third soul skill so that he could vent your anger, so he sent him caught. Grandpa, you don't need to vent my anger on my behalf. I will find my own place. When the time comes, I will defeat him with my own hands in the Continental Senior Soul Master Elite competition in front of thousands of people." Dugu Yen said proudly. Hearing this, Dugu Bo burst into tears. "This is the precious granddaughter I am familiar with. It is all my fault that this boy in front of me has made my dear granddaughter so strange that she thought she would never come back." Thinking of this, Dugu Bo glanced at Wu Xing hatefully. This made Wu Xing on the side feel puzzled. The good old guy started again. However, Wu Xing was not very optimistic about Dugu Yan's words. As the son of Douluo Continent's destiny, Tang San also had various hidden weapons of the Tang sect. She wanted to defeat him, which was nothing more than a dream. Okay, okay. Dugu withdrew his gaze, looked at his precious granddaughter again, and said 3 times in succession, seeing his grandfather laughing heartily. Dugu seemed to have thought of something, a hint of cunning appeared on his face, and he said proudly, "Grandpa, my soul power is now level 43. Your soul power is level 43? Okay. Wait, what did you say? Your soul power is level 43? Dugu subconsciously praised him, then he realized something was wrong and his eyes widened instantly. He remembered that his precious granddaughter's soul power was only level 39 half a month ago, and it will be level 43 after half a month. Soul power increased by 4 levels in half a month. How can this be? Seeing her grandfather's disbelieving eyes, Dugu pouted and said angrily, "Grandpa, can your granddaughter still lie to you?" "Grandpa. It's not that Grandpa doesn't believe it, it's just that Yen you are exaggerating." Dugu said in disbelief, "It goes without saying that he is talented enough to become a titled Douluo, but it is impossible for him to increase his soul power from level 39 to level 43 in half a month. He cannot even reach level 2. You just don't believe it." Dugu pretended to be angry, then stretched out his hand and handed it over. "If you don't believe it, check it out." Dugu subconsciously held it and used his soul power to explore it. The original suspicious expression on his face disappeared. What followed was a look full of surprise. His precious granddaughter's soul power level had really reached level 43. "So, my granddaughter didn't lie to you, did she?" Dugu said proudly when she saw her shocked grandfather. She just revealed her soul power a little bit now, which made her grandfather feel incredible. If she releases the 10,000-year soul ring and the evolved martial spirit next, she may be able to shock his jaw. Dugu swallowed, and then asked tremblingly, Yen, how did you do it?" I'll tell you how I did it later. Take a look at this." Dugu said with a smile, and then mobilized her soul power. In the next second, 4 soul rings appeared under her feet, yellow, purple, black. The dazzling black 10,000-year soul ring was so dazzling that Dugu, who was already in shock, was dumbfounded. Even he, who had been titled Douluo, couldn't sit still and stood up from his chair. "Grandpa, take a closer look at your granddaughter's martial spirit." Dugu was very satisfied with her grandfather's performance. It was her lifelong goal to make her grandfather, a titled Douluo, lose his temper like this. Hearing this, Dugu looked around. At this glance, the snake-like pupils suddenly shrank again. Although the overall jade phosphorus snake spirit had not changed much, 2 huge flowers appeared on the crown. The red snake crown is extremely obvious. By Jade Phosphorus Snake King. Dugu exclaimed, his eyes even more bewildered. As a titled Douluo, Dugu has a deep understanding of his own martial soul. The starting point of the jade phosphorus snake is placed in the beast martial soul. It is not considered the top one, but he also knows that if given the opportunity, he can evolve into the jade phosphorus snake king. When he was young, an opportunity allowed him to evolve his martial soul, and he established the title of Jade Phosphorus Douluo in one fell swoop. He never expected that his granddaughter would give him such a big surprise. The soul power level increased by 4 levels in half a month. The 4th ring was still a 10,000-year soul ring, and the martial soul evolved into the same top beast weapon as him. Soul Jade Phosphorus Snake King. In this way, will my precious granddaughter be able to achieve the title of Douluo like him in the future? How could this make him unhappy, and how could it make him not excited? Dugu, who had been shocked for a long time and recovered, asked tremblingly, Yen, how did you do it? Tell Grandpa quickly. Whether it was the soul power that increased by 4 levels in half a month, or the 10,000-year soul ring, or the evolved Jade Phosphorus Snake King, he couldn't wait to know what happened to his precious granddaughter in the past half-month. Dugu chuckled, then looked at Wu Xing aside, and slowly replied, It's Wu Xing. He gave his granddaughter a fairy grass, and then I did it. Since the copy of the diary cannot be discussed, Dugu attributed the credit to Wu Xing. What? When Dugu Bo heard this, his eyes immediately widened and he looked at Wu Xing in disbelief. Chapter 34 Vomiting Blood Tang 3 updates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who is the background of the boy in front of him? He actually gave Yan such a huge opportunity. At this moment, Dugu Bo's affection for Wu Xing increased a lot. Although he didn't know what fairy grass was, it could allow the soul master to directly increase his soul power level, and he could also absorb soul rings beyond his own limits, Dugu Bo believed, and even evolve. Martial spirit things are definitely rare treasures. No wonder Yan lost the soul fighting competition. She was not as dissatisfied as usual. It turned out to be this reason. Just for a moment, Dugu Bo thought that this boy might abduct his precious granddaughter, and he felt uneasy again. The fairy grass is precious, priceless, and truly priceless. Even if it is generously used by Yan, if it is kidnapped, won't it all be his in the end? Looking at it this way, it seems that this boy will not suffer any loss, and he also has his title Douluo as his backer. Wu Xing didn't know what Dugu Bo was thinking. If he knew what he was thinking at this moment, he would probably die from laughter. This poison Douluo, who is known as the poison tyrant in the world, is still a granddaughter control. Dugu Yan didn't know what Dugu Bo was thinking at this time. In order to make his grandfather not underestimate Wu Xing, and for his grandfather to pay more attention to him, he continued to preach. Also, Lingling's soul power has reached level 46. These are all the contributions of Wu Xing. Hearing this, Dugu Bo was shocked again. Wasn't he only level 36 soul master before? He actually went up 10 levels in less than 3 months. Is there any mistake? Dugu Bo felt more and more that Wu Xing's identity was not simple. Not to mention the treasure, there were more than one. Could it be that he was from the Shangsan sect or the Spirit Hall? Wu Xing, right? I wonder which big family you come from. Dugu Bo looked at Wu Xing with a smile, completely different from his previous indifferent attitude. Upon hearing Dugu Bo's inquiry, Wu Xing smiled and replied, Senior Dugu, this junior is not from a big family, but a commoner. A commoner? Dugu Bo was stunned. He never imagined that the boy in front of him could be a commoner. Seeing the surprised grandpa, Dugu Yan said as if offering a treasure, Grandpa, Wu Xing is indeed a civilian soul master, but don't underestimate him. Although he was born as a commoner and his soul power is only level 31, his strength is much stronger than that of his granddaughter, and he has 3,000-year soul rings. What? Dugu Bo exclaimed again. Today had brought too many shocks to him. Level 31 soul power, stronger than Yan. There are 3 more 10,000-year soul rings. Are you sure this isn't an international joke on him? If Dugu Yan hadn't shown his martial soul and soul ring just now, he would have felt that his precious granddaughter was trying to encourage him to accept his grandson-in-law. Although he was shocked in his heart, he praised calmly on his face, Young people are promising, young people are promising. Senior Dugu is so complimentary. Wu Xing looked indifferent. Wu Xing's expression made Dugu Bo slightly startled. A civilian soul master could still maintain a neither humble nor arrogant attitude under the praise of his title Douluo. Shouldn't he be flattered? Dugu Bo's favorable impression of the boy in front of him improved a bit more. Just as he was about to say something, he frowned and looked at Tang San, who was lying in the corner. Tang San was heard to let out a cry of pain, and then he was seen waking up from his coma. After waking up, Tang San felt his burning face and stretched out his hand to rub it. Suddenly he thought of something, his expression suddenly changed, and he quickly got up from the ground and looked around. When he saw Dugu Bo and others looking at him from the side, their expressions became even uglier, and they said angrily, "It's you. Boy, you're awake." Dugu Bo looked at Tang San, who was glaring angrily, his face full of amusement. Tang San didn't answer. He looked at Dugu Yan with a sullen face and said in a hateful voice, "Dugu Yan, I didn't expect you to be so vicious. You lost to me in the soul fight 3 months ago, and you actually asked your grandfather to step in." When Dugu Yan heard this, he felt bad. Was he evil-minded? He lost to him in a soul fight, so he asked his grandfather to step in. When did she become so ungrateful? Although she was indeed unconvinced at the time, she couldn't tolerate others slandering her, and it was this double standard King Tang San. Tang San, screw you, when did I ask Grandpa to step in? You are just a waste, and you still need my grandpa to take action. I am enough on my own. Dugu Yen scolded angrily. She originally planned to throw him out later. Now it seems that if you don't give the other party some color, you will be sorry for being slandered. Huh, just based on your poison? It's just rubbish. Tang San sneered. What did you say? Before Dugu Yen could speak, Dugu Bo couldn't sit still after hearing Tang San's arrogant words. The other party called his granddaughter's poison rubbish. Wasn't that looking down on him? His granddaughter was being bullied. How could Dugu Bo hold back? His eyes suddenly glowed with green light, and with just a slight raise of his hand, Tang San's body was thrown out by an irresistible force, hitting the wall behind him heavily. Superior. Ahem. The severe pain caused Tang San to cough up some blood. After he felt relieved, he looked at Dugu Bo ferociously. Old trash, your poison is nothing more than this. If it weren't for my soul power, we are so far apart from you, how can we allow you to be arrogant? The power of words. Dugu Bo waved his hand again, and Tang San, who had finally stood up, was hit hard against the wall again, miserable. Wow! Tang San spat out a mouthful of blood, struggled to get up from the ground again, and sneered, your poison is still rubbish to me. Other people's poison skills are used to poison the enemy, but you have already poisoned yourself. Poisoned, isn't your poison considered garbage? Huh. After hearing this, Dugu Bo's pupils froze and he stared at Tang San, trying to judge from this guy's face whether he was bluffing him or not. Dugu Yen on the side heard that her grandfather had been deeply poisoned, and her heart tightened and she quickly looked at her grandfather. Even Yi Lingling was startled, but his eyes were directed at Wu Xing. He should know whether this was true or not. Huh, did I tell you, you old trash? Every time it's cloudy and rainy, do you feel numbness and itching on your ribs? Also, every night, there are needle-like stings on the top of your head and soles of your feet every night. It hurts, the whole body is spasming, this feeling must be uncomfortable. Tang San laughed wildly. Listening to Tang San's explanation, Dugu Bo was frightened, but what the other party said was absolutely correct. When Dugu Yen heard this, she became even more anxious. Grandpa was her only relative in the world. She couldn't sit still. She quickly said, Grandpa, is what he said true? Are you really poisoned? Dugu Bo didn't answer. He didn't want his granddaughter to worry, but this actually fulfilled what Tang San said, making Dugu Yen extremely anxious. Sister Yen Yen, don't worry, isn't Wu Xing here? Even if Grandpa Dugu is seriously poisoned, there is still something to be done. Yi Lingling looked at Wu Xing, who was watching the show indifferently, and understood that the other party did know what was going on, and there was also after finding a way to detoxify, he comforted her with words. Yes, there is Wu Xing. Hearing this, Dugu Yen felt like a drowning man grabbing a life-saving straw. He immediately came back to his senses and quickly looked at Wu Xing. Tang San, who originally wanted to blackmail Dugu Bo through the poisoning incident, heard Yi Lingling's words, kicked his eyes, and shot straight to where Wu Xing was. Chapter 35 Slap Tang in the Face 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wu Xing, can you detoxify my grandfather's body? Dugu Yen looked at Wu Xing expectantly, but she was very nervous in her heart. Grandpa is a master of poison. If he can't detoxify the poison, what kind of terrifying poison will it be? Seeing Dugu Yan's expectant look, and noticing Tang San's gloomy eyes, Wu Xing chuckled lightly, nodded and said, I can naturally cure the poison on Senior Dugu, but have you forgotten yours? Opportunity. With that thing, why do you have to worry about these things? Originally, he didn't intend to give Tang San any chance to show off in front of him. Even if Dugu Yen didn't ask, he would come forward. Now that the other party asked first, it would be even better. I just need to wake up this little girl. With this great opportunity of having a copy of the diary, she was still so panicked when something happened. so she was intimidated by Tang San and led around by the nose. When Dugu Yen heard that Wu Xing said that he could detoxify her grandfather, she was immediately happy, but the other person's reproachful words made her lower her head in embarrassment. Like a little girl who knew she had done something wrong and willingly accepted him criticize, she really panicked after hearing that her grandfather was poisoned, and asked Tang San, a disgusting guy, to make a move, but now that she thought about it, it really shouldn't have happened. I know I was wrong. Dugu Yen replied pitifully. Such a scene made Dugu Bo dumbfounded. His good granddaughter was abducted and escaped. If that's the case, then forget it, but the problem seems to be that this boy has taken control of his precious granddaughter, and he must not let the other party bully him in the future. Thinking of this, Dugu Bo felt that it didn't matter that he was poisoned. He had to have a good talk with his granddaughter. Tang San in the corner, hearing Wu Xing's understatement that he could cure Dugu Bo's poison, sneered, "It's ridiculous, his poison has penetrated deep into his bones, how can it be so easy to remove?" In his opinion, Wu Xing was just talking nonsense. He could see how terrifying the poison accumulated in Dugu Bo's body was. Even if he had the secret book of Tang's sect, he could not solve it 100%, but this guy said it very easily. Not what a joke is. Originally, he was worried that the other party might actually have the means to detoxify him, but now he is relieved. That's right. Wu Xing looked at the mocking Tang San and chuckled. He liked slaps in the face the most, especially when they were given to him. He pretended to fumble with the soul guide, and then a light flashed, and a crystal-clear bottle appeared in Wu Xing's hand, and then handed it to Dugu Yen. "Little Yenzi, there are a few antidote pills in it, give them to you. Grandpa, take it, one pill is enough. Oh, by the way, you take one pill too." Wu Xing subconsciously wanted to call Dugu Yen a chick, but luckily he found out and changed his tune in time. Otherwise, the old guy Dugu Bo would have directly got mad at him and destroyed him. As for this detoxification pill, it was awarded by the diary system after Wu Xing left the ice and fire eyes. When he got this reward, he almost died of anger. He was already out of the poison formation before giving him the detoxification pill. Wasn't that meant to play with him? But he didn't expect that it would actually work today, and it would be used to slap Tang San in the face. "System, the host is wrong, but you are still very wise and powerful. Should I take it too?" Dugu Yen took the bottle and asked doubtfully. "Yes." Wu Xing nodded. He would not give Tang San any chance to jump. If he wasn't worried about Tang Hao, maybe it wouldn't be as simple as a slap in the face. Having watched the anime, he naturally knew that Tang Hao had been secretly protecting Tang San, and would definitely show up if his life was in danger. After hearing this, Dugu Yen poured out 2 pills without even thinking about it, threw one into her mouth, and handed the other to her grandfather. She trusted Wu Xing very much and didn't ask why she needed to take it. Dugu Bo, who was watching all this, didn't know what to say anymore. After a long time, he sighed and stuffed the elixir into his mouth. "My precious granddaughter has grown up, and there will be a day sooner or later. I just hope that the kid in front of me can treat Yan Yan well." The elixir melted in his mouth, and Dugu Bo soon felt a huge energy that began to penetrate into his internal organs and finally reached his bone marrow. Dugu Bo, who noticed this change, was overwhelmed with emotion. This was no ordinary elixir. It was probably some kind of treasure. "I'll leave first, you guys wait here for a while." After a while, Dugu Bo, who noticed the changes in his body, finished speaking calmly and quickly walked inside. "Grandpa, what's wrong?" Seeing his grandfather saying something and leaving in a hurry, Dugu Yen looked at Wu Xing full of doubts. "Ahem." When Wu Xing heard this, he couldn't help coughing, and then he smiled and said, "Maybe people have 3 urgent needs. Although he has never taken detoxifying pills, there are too many toxins in Dugu Bo's body and they always need to be eliminated, right?" "Ah." Dugu Yen was stunned for a moment, then thought of something, and a blush suddenly appeared on his pretty face. "Then why don't I use it?" Dugu Yen was very curious. Wu Xing rolled his eyelids and said, "How do I know? Maybe you are a beauty and you might be treated specially." Dugu Yan's words reminded Wu Xing of a joke from his previous life. that goddesses don't have to pull daddy. Of course, this is definitely not the case. The main reason why Duguian didn't react so much was that the toxins in her body were relatively small and were far from being discharged. Not long after, footsteps came from the back of the living room, and Dugubo's figure appeared in everyone's eyes. At this time, Dugubo looked extremely energetic and seemed to be several years younger. "Grandpa, are you okay?" Duguyen asked happily, looking at his grandfather who seemed to be younger. "Yes." Dugubo nodded cheerfully, looking at Wu Xing with a kind look. "Wu Xing, thank you for the elixir. I feel comfortable all over my body now." He didn't know how many years he hadn't experienced such a comfortable feeling, and his body seemed to have returned to its previous peak state. Wu Xing smiled and said, "Senior Dugu, you are so polite. Yanzi is my friend, and this is what it should be." After hearing Wu Xing's words, Duguyen felt a sweet feeling in his heart for some reason. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How can there be such a magical elixir in the world? At the same time, Tang San had a look of disbelief on his face. His purple demon eyes could see that Dugubo still showed any signs of poisoning at this moment. The black marks between his eyebrows had long since disappeared. He was shocked. He was not only surprised that Dugubo's poison was detoxified, but he was slapped in the face. He was slapped hard in the face. How is it impossible? Just because you, a loser, can't do something, doesn't mean that brother Wu Xing can't do it. Before Wu Xing could say anything, Duguyen had already taken the lead to stand up and even called Wu Xing his brother. When Tang San heard this, he stared at Wu Xing with a sullen expression, his eyes showing a fierce glare. It was all his fault that he could have used the detoxification method to threaten him, but was destroyed by the other party. At this moment, Tang San had already marked Wu Xing as the first target to be eradicated as he had a way to kill him. TSK, is this the protagonist? Now he seems to be more of a villain than a villain. Wu Xing was amazed when he saw Tang San's flash of ferocious appearance. "I just detoxified Dugubo and Duguyen and slapped you in the face, and it was you who took the initiative to get involved, but you were resented." It was indeed double standards and hypocritical. You were really the only one to slap others in the face. You can just show off, but others can't. If I see the squeak here, I will update it for you. Chapter 36 Humiliation of Tang Dynasty 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at Tang San's fierce look, Wu Xing had a look of disdain on his face, and he already had an idea in his mind. For this kind of extreme double standard, extremely hypocritical, and vindictive protagonist, just slapping him in the face is too easy for him. What he wants to do is to make everyone betray him, and then seize Xiao Wu, who he likes, and let Xiao Wu give it to him personally. Put on a big hat, and with a diary system, if operated properly, this is not impossible. Although this is a bit evil, it is not too much to do to the sanctimonious protagonist. Thinking of this, Wu Xing quietly turned on the recording function of the diary system and recorded all of Tang San's hypocritical features. At this moment, Tang San didn't know that Wu Xing had already recorded his other side in the video, and he had to think about how to escape if the threat failed. He hasn't become famous in the mainland yet, he hasn't fulfilled his ambitions, and he hasn't gotten married to Xiao Wu yet. How can he be willing to die here? At this moment, several roars sounded, filled with strong hostility, and they were approaching here quickly, making Tang San's face appear with a look of ecstasy. He could hear that this was the teacher, the dean, and others rushing to save him. Hearing these voices, Dugubo narrowed his eyes slightly. When he captured Tang San, he didn't deliberately suppress his own aura. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to kidnap a mere soul master with the strength of a titled Douluo. God is unaware of it. Shortly after the roar, several figures appeared in the mansion, and these figures were Flanders, Yu Xiaojiang, Zhao Wuji, Lu Erlong and others from Shrek Academy. Teacher! Tang San shouted quickly when he saw Yu Xiaojiang coming to rescue him. Little San! Yu Xiaojiang said in surprise, but when he saw the appearance of this precious disciple, his face showed overwhelming anger. Dugubo, please let me go quickly, otherwise our golden iron triangle will fight you till death. Tang San was his precious child. In the future, he would be the sole master who would stand on the top of the continent. He had not yet achieved both fame and fortune for himself. If the plan failed, wouldn't his efforts over the years be in vain? So what? Can you stop him from being angry? Who do you think you are? You dare to yell in front of me? Dugu raised his hand slightly while being disdainful, and a majestic pressure swept towards Yu Xiaojiang. What is the golden iron triangle? To put it mildly, it is a martial soul fusion technique used by a few unworthy soul masters. How dare such a guy threaten me? When Yu Xiaojiang saw it, his expression suddenly changed. Fortunately, Flanders had blocked Dugu's pressure for him, allowing him to escape the disaster. Feeling this air pressure, Yu Xiaojiang had cold sweat streaming down his forehead. He was so preoccupied with thinking about the importance Tang San brought to him that he forgot that the man in front of him was a real title Douluo. Dugu, Tang San didn't offend you, did he? Why did you want to capture him? Yu Xiaojiang changed from the original threat to a question. I always do things as I please, so there is no need to explain to others. Dugu said coldly. You. Upon hearing this, Yu Xiaojiang's expression changed again. He wanted to say something but was stopped by Flanders. Senior Dugu, Tang San is a disciple of the juniors. If he has offended you in any way, I will apologize to you for him. Please show your respect. You have a lot of masters, so don't be as knowledgeable as a brat. Flanders' attitude was very low, which was completely different from Yu Xiaojiang's attitude, making it hard for people to find fault. Dugu glanced at Yu Xiaojiang with disdain and looked at Flanders indifferently. This is the attitude they should have. It's nothing. I just caught him to ask about the matter. However, this kid is very arrogant and dares to speak rudely to my granddaughter. How should this matter be handled? Dugu looked at Flanders with a calm face and said. This. Hearing this, Flanders showed a hint of hesitation on his face, and then slowly replied, it's because this junior has no good discipline. After saying that, Flanders' face straightened up and he said to Tang San, Xiao San, why don't you apologize to Senior Dugu's granddaughter? What? Tang San's eyes widened when he heard this. Do you want him to apologize to Dugu Yen? What a joke. If he really apologizes to the other party, what dignity does he have? Seeing that Tang San had no intention of apologizing, Flanders' face also turned ugly. This kid didn't even look at the current situation. If you don't apologize, how can I get you out of here safely? Tang San naturally knew this, but if he was asked to apologize to a woman, in front of so many people, and with someone he had once defeated, he really couldn't swallow this breath. Mistress, what are you doing standing still? Flanders said sternly, almost angry to death. Tang San's expression kept changing, and finally he gritted his teeth and said, Dugu Yen, it was my fault just now. I apologize to you, I'm sorry. It's useless to apologize to me. Didn't you look down on brother Wu Xing just now? If you apologize to him, if he accepts it, I will let you go. Facing Tang San's apology, Dugu Yen said indifferently. Upon hearing this, Tang San's entire face turned dark. He had already apologized, but Dugu Yen still had to push the envelope. He couldn't help but said slightly angrily, Dugu Yen, don't bully others too much. Isn't what I said the truth? Am I wrong? Dugu Yen replied coldly, this double-standard King Tang San, doesn't he look down on brother Wu Xing? Then I will make you lose face. Tang San fell silent, forgetting that he had been slapped in the face. What was even more outrageous was that he had to apologize to the person who slapped him in the face. This was even more uncomfortable than killing him. But if I don't apologize, I may really be unable to leave here. Wu Xing, I'm sorry. Tang San said in a very aggrieved voice, but in his heart he was thinking about how to repay this insult 100 times 1,000 times in the future. Looking at Tang San, who was extremely humiliated, Wu Xing smiled in his heart. This guy probably hated him completely, but he didn't care about this. More humiliation was waiting for him in the future. It's a big deal to improve if you know your mistakes. I don't blame you. You have little knowledge. How can a frog in a well compare with a soaring eagle? Wu Xing said murderously. Yes. Tang San clenched his fist fiercely and replied seriously, today's humiliation is the biggest stain in his history. He will never let these people go. When Dugu saw him, he laughed and said, if that's the case, then take him back. He had no intention of taking Tang San's life in the first place. The reason why he was captured was just to understand how he broke his granddaughter's third soul skill and to vent his anger on his granddaughter. Now, Wu Xing seems to know more about poison than Tang San. The other party will have no effect. Thank you, Senior Dugu. After hearing this, Flender happily held his hands in his hands and thanked him. In order to avoid a long night and many dreams, he immediately called Tang San over and hurriedly left here. Looking at Tang San who was leaving like a bereaved dog, Wu Xing's face curved up. Tang San, today is just the beginning, and the real nightmare will come next. Don't be overwhelmed so quickly, or it will be too boring. Chapter 37 Heart-to-Heart Talk between Grandfather and Grandson. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Shrek and his party left, Dugu immediately called for Wu Xing to sit down again. In his opinion, Tang San's incident was just a sideshow. After being washed away by the detoxification pill, his favorable impression of Wu Xing reached an unprecedented height. Although he was a civilian soul master, it was not something ordinary people could do to be able to produce so many treasures. Seeing her grandfather's change of attitude, Dugu Yen was very happy, and spared no effort to praise Wu Xing at the dinner. Of course, in addition to Dugu Yen, Yi Lingling also expressed his admiration for Wu Xing from time to time. As for Su Ruoshi, when she saw everyone expressing their admiration for her man, even Senior Dugu, who was a titled Douluo, also praised them. Her heart felt like it was filled with honey, which was sweet. After all, Wu Xing is her man, doesn't praising him prove his own vision? After a dinner, it can be said that the guests and the host had a great time, and it was already late at night until the end. Yen, Grandpa wants to ask you something. After Duguian arranged for Wu Xing to stay in the guest room, Dugu had already found his granddaughter. There were some things that he couldn't ask his granddaughter in front of everyone, but he didn't have to hide them in private. Seeing her grandfather approaching, Dugu Yen said with some confusion, Grandpa, what do you want to ask your granddaughter? What do you think of that boy Wu Xing? Dugu looked at his good granddaughter carefully with a serious look on his face. When Dugu Yen heard this, he was stunned for a moment, then rolled his eyes and said, Grandpa, what can I think of brother Wu Xing? Really? Dugu raised his eyebrows and asked again, don't you have a crush on that kid? Dugu Yen was startled when he heard this, then his face turned red and he said coquettishly, Grandpa, what are you talking about? Brother Wu Xing and I are very good friends. That's the only way. Dugu looked at his shy granddaughter with obvious disbelief. Of course. Dugu Yen nodded matter-of-factly, and his grandfather politely asked what he was doing. She did have a good impression of Wu Xing, but the two of them had only known each other for less than 3 days, and it had only been 8 or 9 days since the full copy of the diary was written, so how could she possibly fall in love with each other? When Dugu saw it, he said a little unwillingly, but Grandpa, it seems that you are very interested in him. You let him come to your home and praise him. Grandpa, stop thinking nonsense. My granddaughter asked him to come to the house because she wanted to have a good relationship with him. Dugu Yen explained. After finishing speaking, he was afraid that Grandpa would still think wildly, so he continued, Grandpa, although brother Wu Xing is a commoner, his identity is not simple. It is more simple than you can imagine. I can't tell you the specific granddaughter. In short, it's a titled Douluo or something, it's just his starting point. What? Dugu was dumbfounded after hearing his precious granddaughter's explanation. He had never seen the majestic jade phosphorus Douluo, but his granddaughter said that the other party's identity was something he could not imagine, and he also had his title banned. Douluo was just the starting point for that kid. After accepting this information, Dugu looked at his beloved granddaughter suspiciously and continued, Yen, you are not joking with Grandpa, are you? If you like him, you can tell Grandpa directly without telling these lies. And Grandpa may not object to you and him. However, the relationship between the girl named Su Ruashi and that boy should not be simple. If you insert it like this. Oops. Stop, I'm the boss. Seeing that her grandfather was getting more and more outrageous and disrespectful, Dugu Yen, whose face turned red, couldn't help it anymore, grabbed Dugu Bo's beard and pulled it up. Grandpa, it's too much. Dugu Bo looked at his good daughter-son who finally let go of her hands on her hips and was angry, and quickly rubbed his thin beard. To be honest, after the dinner, he was quite satisfied with Wu Xing. It would be nice if his granddaughter could be with him, but he found that the other party seemed to have a close relationship with the girl named Su Ruashi. He was worried that his precious granddaughter would suffer, so he asked, unexpectedly. His granddaughter's reaction was so strong. If he hadn't pretended to be in pain, his beard would have been pulled out. You deserve to be disrespected by your elders. Dugu Yen hummed and then said, Grandpa, what I said before is true. My granddaughter is not joking with you. Do you know the level of Brother Wu Xing's innate soul power? What is the level of innate soul power? Dugu Bo asked subconsciously, rubbing his chin. Level 30. Dugu Yen said seriously. How is that possible? When Dugu Bo heard this, he immediately jumped up and said, Isn't the highest level of innate soul power level 10? How is it impossible? Brother Wu Xing's 3 rings are all 10,000-year soul rings. Have you seen them before? Dugu Yen said with raised eyebrows. When Dugu Bo heard this, he immediately fell silent. Indeed, he had never heard of anyone being able to absorb a 10,000-year soul ring across the years. In this case, having an innate soul power of level 30 was not difficult to understand. Then why is he only level 31 now? Dugu Bo seemed to feel something was wrong and asked before he could. Dugu Yen knew that her grandfather would ask this question, so she raised her head arrogantly and said, Brother Wu Xing has just awakened his martial spirit a few days ago. How did you know this? Dugu Bo was shocked and asked out of curiosity. You don't need to ask, I just know it anyway. Dugu Yen answered vaguely. She couldn't tell her about the copy of the diary, but she didn't intend to make up some random excuse to deal with her grandfather. Seeing his good granddaughter who answered so affirmatively, Dugu Bo immediately believed it. He knew that his precious granddaughter couldn't possibly talk nonsense to him. No wonder Yen Yen is so enthusiastic and even keeps praising that boy in front of him. He is a super little monster. The innate soul power is level 30. This is such a terrifying statistic. Calculated in this way, title Douluo is really just the starting point for that kid. When he thought about the other party's future achievements, Dugu Bo couldn't sit still and said with a smile, Yen Yen, you really don't have that idea? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and Grandpa agrees. Knowing that Wu Xing's talent is so terrible, only a fool would disagree with the two of them. Even if there is no chance, he will create an opportunity, not to mention that the opportunity is still in front of him. I will never pay attention to you, Grandpa, anymore. Dugu Yen didn't expect that after he had explained so much, his grandpa was still so old and dishonest, and he immediately stamped his feet in anger. Grandpa is telling the truth. Dugu Bo rubbed his hands with a look of longing. When Dugu Yen saw the expression on his grandfather's face that he wished he could marry Wu Xing, he blushed so much that he bled. Finally, he simply said angrily, I won't tell you anymore. After saying that, Dugu Yen left here quickly, ran back to his room and closed the door hard. Leaning in front of his room door, Dugu Yan's heartbeat was like a deer's, and his face was even hotter, but he was thinking about those words in his heart, and his grandfather agreed. She couldn't tell how she felt about Wu Xing, but it was certain that she had a good impression. However, she couldn't tell whether this good feeling was considered to be like him or not. It seems good to marry the other party, it should be good, right? Just when Dugu Yen was thinking wildly, thinking that she was not disgusted with being the other woman's woman, she suddenly heard the reminder to update the copy of the diary. She immediately woke up, shook off the shameful thoughts in her mind, and threw herself on her bed. Start reading. In an instant, under the golden light of the copy of the diary, it was revealed that the blush from just now still remained on her face. Chapter 38 Destroy 3 Views. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A certain guest room. At this time, Wu Xing was lying on the bed alone. Since he didn't know how far Wu Xing and Su Ruoxi had developed, Dugu Yan did not arrange for the two of them to live in the same room. After checking the time, it was already past 12 o'clock. Wu Xing, who was not very sleepy, simply opened the diary system and started updating today's content. Good evening, all beauties. Today's update is relatively early, so it didn't bother you, right? Speaking of which, I was invited by my pen pal and am now living in her home. Of course, don't get me wrong, there is nothing between us, it's just a simple communication. As Wu Xing's diary was updated, all the girls were shocked when they saw this, especially the diary holders of Douluo World. Although they knew that someone had found the owner of the diary yesterday. Was it progressing too quickly? They had just met each other for a day and then moved into each other's home. Since I learned yesterday that the holder of a copy of the diary is from Zhutian Zongman, I have thought about it for a long time, so I made a decision not to hide my whereabouts anymore. Mainly because I don't think it's necessary. After all, there are so many big guys in the diary. Even if I want to hide it, I probably won't be able to hide it for too long. And I'm also worried that one day the system will send me to other worlds to do tasks, and I might need your help. But there is one thing I want to say. Although I don't plan to hide my whereabouts, I don't want to be disturbed, so please be rational and don't come here unless necessary. Otherwise, I will have to use the teleportation card to escape. I hope everyone can understand. Of course, if there is really anything you need to ask or help with, I will spare no effort. After Wu Xing said that he did not intend to conceal his whereabouts, many beauties in Douluo Continent became excited. However, when they saw Wu Xing saying that he did not want to be disturbed, the excitement disappeared. They could understand Wu Xing's worries. There were so many holders of copies of the diary. If they were all found, how could he live a normal life? Considering that many of the diary holders are beauties from Zhutian Zongman, before telling you my whereabouts, I will give you a brief introduction to the world I am in now, so that you can read more easily. The world I live in is called Douluo Continent. You must also know that everyone here can awaken their martial soul when they are 6 years old. As for what Wu Huan is, you should have already understood it through the notes in the diary copy, right? I will not say much. On this continent, there are 2 major empires, various kingdoms and principalities. The empire is the largest, followed by kingdoms, and finally the principalities. In addition, there are no less transcendent forces than the empire, Wuhuan Palace, and Poseidon Island far beyond the sea, etc. My current location is Tiandou City, the capital of the Tiandou Empire among the 2 major empires. Tiandou City. The owner of the diary is actually in Tiandou City. When Wu Xing said that he was in Tiandou City, the eyes of many beauties lit up, especially the beauties who were in Tiandou City at this time. This is good news for them. Although the owner of the diary said that there is nothing wrong and they should not go to him specifically, but after knowing the location, they have peace of mind. After all, who can guarantee that they will not encounter difficult emergencies? I am here because I joined Tiandou Royal Academy by chance and am now a student there. Now that we are talking about Tiandou Royal Academy, you must be familiar with Tang San whom I mentioned before. He is the son of destiny in this world, and I happened to meet him in Shrek's group today. As the plot developed, they were deliberately provoked by Xuebang, which led to them not joining the academy in the end. Originally, I thought that today's incident would be over if I didn't get involved, but I didn't expect that I would be invited by my pen pal to visit her house in the evening and meet Tang San again. But he was captured by the pen pal's grandfather, so what happened next was not pleasant. To be honest, I really don't know how someone like Tang San could become the protagonist and be protected by luck. His behavior completely overturned my understanding of the protagonist. He was self-righteous, slandered her without saying anything, and was very hypocritical. What happened is this. The reason why the pen pal's grandfather caught him here was because he wanted to know why he was able to break his granddaughter's 3rd soul skill, and at the same time vent his anger on his granddaughter for 3 months. And our pen pal actually didn't know these things, nor did she ask her grandfather to catch her. But when Tang San woke up, he immediately attacked his pen pal, saying that she had evil intentions and that if she couldn't beat him, he would ask his grandfather to step in. With this statement, this pen pal naturally did not want to take the blame, and then started tit for tat. Everything seems to be normal, but what happens next is outrageous. It's still very outrageous. The pen pal's grandfather was discovered by him because he was deeply poisoned. Out of concern for his grandfather, our pen pal came to me to ask if there was a way to crack it. I received the antidote pill as a reward from the system before, so I will tell you the truth. I didn't expect that guy Tang San to actually mock me. Do you believe it? I am an outsider, a person who has nothing to do with him, and I have never offended him. Just because I can detoxify my pen pal grandpa, he jumped out to ridicule me. Is this the protagonist? Is this what it means to be a child of fate? Too narrow-minded. Do you really think that because you have the secret realm of the Tang sect from your previous life and know about poisons, you can look down on others? To put it bluntly, but also to say something that the beauties in Douluo world may not want to hear, these Tang sect secret books, Tang sect hidden weapons, and Tang sect's poison and detoxification techniques can be used to secretly title Douluo and Douluo Continent, and even to the point of killing gods, but in other worlds it would be a joke. Douluo Continent is called the sewer of the fantasy world, mostly for this reason. Not to mention the world where the three beautiful ladies we talked about yesterday, even Shuiyu Sword Immortal, these are just martial arts worlds, and they are all things that cannot be put on the table. The most ridiculous thing is that I just stepped in to detoxify my pen pal's grandfather, and I slapped him in the face, so he held a grudge against me. He took the initiative to hit me first, which was quite funny. I have said before that this person has extremely double standards. Only he can slap others in the face, and others cannot slap him in the face. Otherwise, he will kill you in a minute. I am afraid that the person he wants to kill most right now is me. Based on my understanding of him, he is absolutely inseparable. Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, Zhu Qing, if you, the Shrek Three Beauties, don't believe it, let's just wait and see if he will do that. As Wu Xing's updates contained more and more words, the eyes of the many beauties he was flipping through gradually enlarged. Are you sure this is the protagonist? Is this the son of destiny? Instead of a villain? At this moment, their outlook on life was destroyed by Tang San. Chapter 39 Analysis of Tang 3's Trump Card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lanba Academy. Now Lu Erlong has transferred the position of Dean to Flanders and is planning to change it to Shrek Academy in the next few days. In one of the rooms, even though it was late at night, Xiao Wu and the other girls were still staying together and looking at the contents of Wu Xing's updated diary. Tang San was captured by Dugu. Such a big thing happened, so naturally they didn't fall asleep so early. I originally thought that this would be the end of today's events, but I never expected that this incident was also mentioned in the diary. Today's origin is the owner of the diary, right? Ning Rongrong looked at the lines of words that appeared on the book, his eyes flashing with strange light. This guy finally stopped hiding himself. When she heard teacher Qin Ming's explanation at noon, she was very surprised. Why did he have 3 exaggerated 10,000-year soul rings when he was just a soul master? All of this can be explained now, and only the owner of the diary can do it. Thinking of the fleeting scene between the two parties, Ning Rongrong's mind suddenly became active. She was already deeply impressed by the handsome member of Tiandou Academy, and now that he has this level of identity, he is simply the most perfect partner candidate in her mind. Humph, Wu Xing, I must capture you. Ning Rongrong clenched her pink fists and decided to take the initiative. As for the rationality the other party said, she automatically ignored it. With such a beautiful girl like me throwing herself into my arms, she didn't believe that this pervert could hold back his feelings. Regarding Ning Rongrong's excitement, Xiao Wu seemed lost. She didn't expect that the owner of the diary would talk about Tang San again, and what he said was still so unbearable. Ever since Wu Xing revealed Tang San's double-standard character, she had been deliberately not thinking about it in the past few days. However, within a few days, she exposed Tang San's hypocrisy again, and even resented Dugu for detoxifying him. Go to the diary owner and want to put him to death. Now she didn't know what to do. Should she continue to trust Tang San, or choose to trust the owner of the diary? Xiao Wu, don't think too much. If what the owner of the diary says is true, Tang San is a hypocritical person, and it will definitely show up. If it is false, it proves that that guy has no good intentions. Just as Xiao Wu tightened his grip. While holding his own hands, Zhu Zhuqing quickly said comfortingly, she could understand Xiao Wu's current mood, but she was more inclined to what Wu Xing said because she had experienced similar things before. She was deceived by her eldest sister. If she hadn't experienced it personally, she still wouldn't believe how vicious the eldest sister who once cared for her had such vicious thoughts. After his identity was exposed, he even wanted her life and pursued him all the way to the border of the Tiandou Empire. If it hadn't been for her good luck, and if it hadn't been for third sister's help, she would have died on the road. This is why her original innocent personality has turned into a cold one. That is the protective color she gave herself. Yes, Sister Zhuqing is right. If Tang San is really that kind of person, Xiao Wu, it would be better for you to recognize it earlier. After hearing Zhu Zhuqing's comfort, Ning Rongrong also reacted and said quickly, it's just that her words were more direct, and under the interference of Wu Xing's diary, she had already decided that Tang San was the hypocritical guy with double standards. Seeing the comfort from the two good sisters Zhuqing and Rongrong, Xiao Wu felt a little warm in her heart and nodded heavily. On the other side, a cabin in the woods, Lu Erlong frowned tightly as she looked at the updated content of the diary copy. At this time, under Wu Xing's subtle influence over the past few days, she had lost her original feelings for Yu Xiaojiang. Coupled with what Yu Xiaojiang did later, it went from unfamiliar to disgusting. Yu Xiaojiang is the honorary elder of Wuhuan Hall and she knows better than anyone else that she has an entanglement with that woman. What's more, she learned from Flanders in the afternoon that Tang San's father was from the Haotian sect, which made her feel even more disgusted. He deceived women for fame and fortune, and betrayed the Wuhuan palace who cultivated him for fame and fortune. The disciples he accepted now were the same, with double standards and hypocrisy. It was true that there were disciples just like the teachers. If it weren't for Flanders' sake, she would have driven Yu Xiaojiang away directly. It was for Flanders' sake that she went to Dugu mansion that night. Now that she thought about it, it wasn't worth it. She would have known better if she let him die there. However, she still liked Xiao Wu and the girls very much, and she could not let these two hypocritical masters and apprentices deceive them. Thinking of this, Lu Erlong simply got up and walked towards the girls' dormitory building in the college. She couldn't let such a good seedling be wasted. These are what I experienced today. Thank you all for listening. Now let's talk about what is the Tang clan's secret book, what is the Tang clan's hidden weapon, and why it can become Tang San's greatest reliance. Those of you who don't know should be eager to know, right? But before talking about Tang sect secret books and Tang sect hidden weapons, we must first understand its origin. These Tang sect secret books and Tang sect hidden weapons are not original things from Douluo Continent, but are things from the world where Tang San originally lived. The world he originally lived in was a martial arts world similar to the beautiful girl in Qin Shi Mingyue and the beauty in cold clothes. Tang sect's secret books and Tang sect's hidden weapons come from a sect named Tang sect in such a world. Cheats can be regarded as your own cultivation techniques, while hidden weapons are objects outside the body used to strengthen offensive methods, just like the soul bones in my current Douluo world. That being said, it should be clear to you, right? But it is something like this that can shine in Douluo Continent. First, Tang San borrowed the Tang sect's secret book to win the soul battle, and then used Tang sect's hidden weapons to kill soul masters who were many levels higher than him. Finally, even he used these hidden weapons to hurt the beautiful Xuexue who became a god. The Tang sect's hidden weapon can actually hurt me after I become a god. In the Tiandou palace, Qian Renxue was shocked when she saw this, and her eyes froze. If Wu Xing hadn't said that these were unattainable things, she would have thought that the Tang sect's hidden weapons were some incredible treasure. No wonder the other party would say that Douluo Continent is the sewer of the fantasy world, which is indeed ironic. They are both in fantasy worlds. Looking at the supreme giant Lu Xun in the perfect world, and then looking at the ruthless emperor in the world that covers the sky, there is a burning feeling on her face. Not only Qian Renshua, but also many beauties in Douluo Continent felt uncomfortable seeing this. As for beauties from other worlds, especially those from the martial arts world, they are all a little confused at the moment, opening their sexy red lips stupidly. Can Tang sect's hidden weapons hurt gods? This is the biggest joke they have ever heard. Even after professional training, they can't help it. Is it really ridiculous? Chapter 40 Resurrection Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But beauties of Douluo Continent, you don't have to worry too much. These secret books and hidden weapons of Tang San are just a pile of rubbish compared to the copies of the diary. So you don't need to pay too much attention to these things. Maybe the diary copy will reward you with better ones when the time comes. There is a popular saying in my original world that all products produced by the system are high-quality products, and everything is rewarded by the system. Back to the topic. After talking about the secret books and hidden weapons that Tang San relied on, let's talk about the things he relied on in this world. Since this guy can become the protagonist of Douluo Continent and the son of luck, his luck is certainly very good. As for why I say this, we have to start with his origin. You already know that in his previous life, he stole the Tang sect's secret code and was cleared by the sect. After falling off a cliff, he crossed over and replaced a pair of aborigines. The fetus of a couple inherits the martial soul of that couple. Speaking of time travel, God is also unfair. In my original world, I was a good citizen. I had never been deceived or deceived. I would often help my grandparents cross the road, but he directly threw me into the sunset forest to fend for myself. On the other hand, Tang San, a double-standard king, was a thief before time travel and committed treacherous acts, but he was able to directly change his role and inherit the mantle of this couple. Do you think you should treat him differently? Bah, this guy is so shameless. You have a diary system, what else do you want? Faced with Wu Xing's cry of injustice, all the beauties rolled their eyes. They thought this guy had changed his gender, but they didn't expect that dogs can't change their gender. Can Tang San's chance be compared with your diary system? Of course, you beauties don't need to defend me. After all, I have a group of beautiful pen pals like you, so God treats me well. I'll suffer a little if I suffer a little. I'll avenge you, you big-headed devil. Seeing the aggrieved tone in Wu Xing's diary, many beauties felt itchy with hatred. Why do they feel so angry? Digression, back to the topic. The father of the fetus that Tang San replaced is named Tang Hao, and he comes from the Haotian sect, the sect known as the most powerful weapon spirit in the Douluo world. And the mother, named Ayin, is a soul beast that has been transformed into a human being for 100,000 years, and its true form is the Blue Silver Emperor. Speaking of this couple, I have to complain again. Douluo Continent is called the Love Continent. It's not wrong at all. Many of them are love-minded. Ayin is one of them, and she is also the worst. She was deceived and used by Tang Hao, and finally sacrificed herself. Pure Land World Ayin. At this moment, Ayin just felt like the world was spinning. If he hadn't died, he might be able to do it again. The fetus in her belly was replaced, but now she told her that her lover had been deceiving and using her. Alas, they are all pitiful people, no, pitiful beasts. With such a relationship, Tang San naturally has a high bloodline. He perfectly inherited the martial spirits of both parties, a clear sky hammer and a blue silver emperor, becoming the third soul master in the history of Douluo Continent to have twin martial spirits. This is also why Yu Xiaojiang, after meeting Tang San, betrayed Yu Donger without a care and became an enemy of your opponent, all for the sake of his own reputation. Yu Xiaojiang, you deserve to die. Seeing Bibi Dong here, she slapped the table hard. As the Pope of the Spirit Hall and the owner of the twin spirits, she certainly knew how powerful the twin spirits were. To cultivate such a powerful enemy to deal with her, it was no wonder that her plan failed in the end. In addition to the twin martial souls, God has been feeding him. Others may not be able to get soul bones by killing hundreds or thousands of soul beasts. As for him, he can just kill a soul beast and get a soul bone. Also the precious external soul bone. As for the fairy grass that even the titled Douluo didn't know about, he knew about it and eventually made it into his wedding dress. Another example is the 100,000-year-old soul ring that is especially cherished in this world. As the beautiful Pope Donger, who is even more transcendent than the imperial power, she worked hard to get one. Fortunately, the 100,000-year-old soul beast rushed to offer it to him. Sacrifice. The same goes for becoming a god. The goal that many powerful people in this world strive for throughout their lives is given away by the gods in the upper world for free. One gift will give two in return. Do you now know how terrifying the Son of Destiny is? This. When many beauties saw Wu Xing's update, they all had their mouths open and their eyes dull. Is this the protagonist? Is this the Son of Destiny? It's so scary. Of course, the most difficult thing for them to accept is that this guy named Tang San has double standards, hypocrisy, and will retaliate for his anger. How can such a person be blessed? Is God blind? If such a person can become the protagonist and the Son of Destiny, it doesn't matter if the heaven is reversed. Okay, ladies, let's stop talking today. The number of words in the update has seriously exceeded the system requirements. However, this is something I have been holding back since I traveled back in time. I really couldn't express it anymore, so I wrote a bit too much. Beauties, we'll see you tomorrow to collect the rewards. As the last word was written, Wu Xing exited the panel, feeling much more relaxed. This is something he has wanted to complain about for a long time, and there are so many beautiful women listening, so he shouldn't feel too happy. Tang San, now that I've stripped you naked, I'll see how you can still show off in the future. Thinking with a smile on his face, Wu Xing communicated with the system in his mind to receive the reward, and began to look forward to it. The diary system has given him very practical rewards for 2 consecutive days. I wonder if there will be an exception today. We will know soon whether the rewards will become better as the diary level increases. Ding. It is detected that the host has updated a diary and will be rewarded with a resurrection skill card. Upon hearing the system prompt, Wu Xing immediately widened his eyes. Did he hear it correctly? Resurrection skill card. In order to verify whether he was hallucinating and whether he heard correctly, Wu Xing quickly took out this card from the diary warehouse. Resurrection skill card. You can resurrect after death, passive, or you can designate another person to resurrect, active. The cooldown time is 1 year. Ding. It is detected that the host has obtained a skill card. Does the host learn this skill? Learn. Learn. Must learn. Learn immediately. Learn immediately. Wu Xing shouted to the system without thinking, you are a fool if you don't learn. With this skill, the reader's father no longer has to worry about my safety. That when it was confirmed, a ray of light flashed, and the card immediately dissipated, and was immediately printed in the center of Wu Xing's eyebrows. In an instant, he got the use of this skill. Wu Xing, who got the resurrection skill, was in a state of excitement. He never expected that the system would be so generous and directly give him a skill card, a resurrection skill card. Even if the cooldown time is a bit long, it's enough. System, open the diary. That I don't know how long it took, but Wu Xing came back to his senses and said with great enthusiasm.